Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about something called imposter syndrome. You've probably heard this word kind of thrown around. What is imposter syndrome? What does it feel like to have imposter syndrome? And what can we do about it? And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So, today, you guys are in for a treat because I have one of my favorite people here. I think Rob and I, we actually met about a year ago. I was actually at a summit where I was learning about how to get more visible in my business. And welcome. Here we are. We've got Clara Tong who's joining us, and Clara is an online math tutor, you guys. And she has been part of our community the last couple of years, and I have really loved to see just the growth journey that you've personally taken, Clara, as you have started your online tutoring business. So tell everybody a little bit more about you and who you are.
Well, as you can see from my background, my name is Clara Tong. I tutor math online to students ages 11 and up. I help students achieve their own goals in math, whether it be getting excellent grades in school or preparing to study math at the university level.
I love it. Oh, look at that. You got clarity and exactly who it is you help and how you help them. I love it. This is fantastic. Take notes, you guys. Because we want to have that clarity when we talk about like who it is that we help and what it is that we're able to do for them. So I love that. And I know when you started your business, you kind of had this whole imposter syndrome thought process that kind of was going through your mind. Where were you at in those beginning stages with your business?
Oh, I could talk at length about that, I think. Um, I mean, before I was ever a tutor, I was a teacher and I was teaching at an international school because it was kind of hard to find jobs locally at that time. A lot of graduates were having trouble with that. So I went overseas to teach in China. But then I thought, well, I don't really want to stick there forever. So I came back, but the job market was still really tough. So I thought to myself, well, what can I even do in education? Because that's what my background is in. So I went into tutoring and, it is hard to get students at first. And I actually found some of the local organizations that were helping connect tutors with students. And at the very beginning, I made $35 per hour. And at that time, I thought it was already really good because as a teacher, I was making 25.
Right. Right, yeah. Right, we kind of base our rates off of what we've been paid in the past versus really knowing what that value is that we're bringing to the marketplace and how that's different. So when you came back and you were teaching, were you teaching you got connected with some local organizations that match tutors? Are you talking about like different companies or what kinds of organizations did you connect yourself with?
Okay, I only had one. This one was actually a nonprofit, and the reason why I chose that one was because the split between the company and the tutor is usually not great,
Okay.
right? So this one, I think they took about 20% of it. And at that time, I thought, well, this is okay because I don't know how to market myself. So
Mhm.
I just kind of have to give them some money per hour.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's great to be able to join other businesses like that. In the beginning, we don't know how to market our services, right? We went to school for teaching, and so a lot of people don't even know that it's out there that other people will even teach them how to do that piece so that they can do it. And I think that's the big piece is like you can get students online. And so kind of part of that imposter syndrome started with like even just the pricing piece, like not knowing where to price or taking a look at what other companies were willing to pay all of that kinda stuff, and I kinda started in the same place because I know that, like, Sylvan was at the time back in 2010, they were charging $50 an hour. So here was my thought process. I'll charge 40 because wouldn't somebody rather choose somebody who's, like, a reading specialist that has the degrees and credentials than work with, like, somebody like Sylvan who they're hiring people, like, right out of college and that kinda stuff to be able to fill the spots? And then I learned Sylvan was only gonna actually pay me $15 an hour. And I was like, "Oh, no, like, if I go and work over there for them for $15 an hour, like, I know I can make more than $15 an hour." But I started at 40 because I was using Sylvan as my comparison point. Did you use other pieces like that to kinda compare yourself to figure out your starting
Yeah.
rate?
Okay, let me tell you, I posed as a parent, and then I tried to see what Sylvan was charging. Like Sylvan and other tutoring companies, I can't remember them off the top of my head right now.
Mhm.
But the big names, I posed as a parent. I asked about the pricing.
By the way, guys, don't do that with us independent tutors. We will figure you out. Like, don't do that. That's not nice. But we do that, like, in the beginning, we're just like, "Huh, what are their pricing strategies?" And what did you learn?
I think they were not that much higher
Okay.
than 50. I think it was like 53, 54, and this was back in 2016.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it almost held you back almost doing that kind of research from
Yeah,
charging what you're worth. Like, how much are you charging now?
75.
Nice. Did you guys see how straight face she said that? It was, like, not even, like, thinking about it. She's like, "75. That's it." No, like, there was no imposter syndrome with that rate. So tell us a little bit more about that imposter syndrome in the beginning days of your tutoring business.
I think I was just comparing myself to a lot of other people around me. So I know of other local tutors and they charge 75 or 100. And then I would go and look on their website to see what their credentials were. One is an Ivy League graduate. Another one has been tutoring for like over 10 years and has created this math program. And I thought, well, I'm not an Ivy League graduate. How can I possibly charge more money if my credentials don't look that great?
Yeah.
And then at some point, I realized this is not what parents care about.
No, you're right. They don't. But in the beginning, the only thing we know to look at are those credentials. Like as teachers and tutors, the only thing we know to look at are credentials. And so we base our worth based off the credentials versus what parents really care about. So if we flip it and we say, well, what does a parent really care about? Do they care that I'm credentialed or do they care more that I can get an A for their child in their class, help them get an A? Gonna guess that your credentials kinda go down the toilet. If you have no credentials and you can help their child get an A in the class, they don't care. They do not care. They care that their child gets the results that they came to you looking for. For me, the result is they want their child to read. They would love their kid to read a Harry Potter book with full comprehension. That is the result that they're looking for. Now, did I go to school, get my reading specialist degree? I did, but I was already in the school system, so I was already in that world, locked into it, and I thought that if I get that next degree, I'm gonna get paid more. I didn't realize that charter schools don't work the same as regular public schools. Nobody told me this. So, I get credentialed, I get a reading specialist degree, and I go into the office and I say, "So, I noticed that I didn't get a raise this year, and I went back to school, I got more education, and you guys aren't willing to pay me anything more?" Like, I paid out of pocket for this. And they were like, "No, sorry, as the reading specialist, you don't get an increase in pay." I said, "If I go to another school system, I will." And like, I hated to say that, but it was the truth. Like, I could go into a public school system and I could get a raise. And so it was at that point, I'm like, "This really stinks, A, but if I need to go this route, I will." And then they said, "Okay, we'll give you a raise." I'm like, "It really stinks that I had to, like, even fight for my raise in order to get a raise." I had gotten credentialed, but that's what we look at in the beginning. We look at those beginning things, like and some people think too, like, I need to go back to school to get in order to charge more. Did you ever have that thought go through your head, like, "I need to go back to school to charge more?"
Because over where I live, as a teacher, as a public school teacher, I don't know about private school, but as a public school teacher, you get a pay bump if you get a master's degree.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the mindset that I had as
Yep.
well, that if
Mhm.
I had a master's or a PhD, then people would pay me more.
Mhm. But in the tutoring world, it's a whole other world. Like when we start our own business, and this is where things change for us, you guys. And I think it's so important to like listen to this conversation because we think in order to get paid more, we have to go back to school. Now, I don't know about you, but if you go back to school, you're going to have to take a whole bunch of classes that are not going to help you get the results that you want to be able to get for your students. You're going to have to read about the history behind the thoughts and the processes and the teachings and um oh my gosh, and then you have to do these assignments. They also those assignments and the papers that you have to write have nothing to do with you being able to get better results for the students. They are what I call time wasters. The professor figured out that they need to assign something, and so they assigned this crazy thing that doesn't help increase my skills in any way, and this is what I'm paying for. I would rather pay for a course that tells me exactly what to do and how to do it so that I can improve my skills as a tutor, then go back to school as a teacher and learn all of this useless information that is not going to serve me in my business. How about you?
You know what? I was talking to a former student a couple days ago, and he's currently studying business. He's currently taking two marketing courses, and he told me about what he's learning about like the four P's: price, products. I forget the rest.
Yeah.
But and then I told him what I learned about marketing, which was about SEO and writing content and getting your audience to know, like, and trust you. Like, this is how you market. And
Right.
he was like, this is very practical. They should teach this.
Right? I mean, there's totally, or this is my favorite one. Like when I was going to school, and they would be teaching about, oh, you don't want to teach in rows anymore. You want to have a collaborative approach to teaching. And as they're saying this, we're all in a lecture style hall, right? Not actually immersed in experiencing what they're trying to teach us. I'm like, there's a disconnect for me. And if you think that I'm going to be able to apply this in my classroom the way you want me to apply it, it's probably not going to happen because you're not teaching it to me the way that I need to learn it. Like, I need to be fully immersed, like, immerse me in the style that you're talking about. Like, we could have come to, like, class each day, and seats could have been rearranged to actually match what they were talking about and the style that they were talking about versus, "Let me teach all of this to you in lecture style. Go ahead, go. Learn as much of this as you can, and there will be a test in 3 weeks to see how much of it you remember." It's totally useless. It's totally useless. That's why with my Jumpstart Your Online Tutoring Business Masterclass that we've got over 30 people that are signed up this time around. We specifically take them through all of the actual skills that they need to learn so that they're not sitting there and they're like doing all of these useless tasks, right? You need to make a flyer in order to get more students. So we go through, how do you make a flyer? What should you write on that flyer? What do you put on that flyer? What images do you put on that flyer? Why do you put the images on the flyer, right? Like all the useful stuff that you need versus let's just come up with some useless stuff that you'll never need to use. But this is why we feel like an imposter maybe when we go into like trying to help people because we've learned all this useless stuff that doesn't actually help us get results.
It's really funny. When I was going through the Bachelor's of Education program, I think they taught everything except how to teach,
Yes,
like how to actually teach.
we're right. I totally 100% agree with you. And we both went to school for teaching to learn how to teach. My favorite one that they skipped too was classroom management.
Hmm.
They s that like, that
We
never
had
even
that.
got touched
Yeah.
on. You got that, so that was good, good. You had classroom management, we had 0 classroom management. We did get the opportunity to go into classrooms, observe teachers, and then do
Mm.
some student teaching, so there was an immersion there, but I think, like, how do you go into teaching and not know anything about classroom management? Like, this is this is an injustice because 90% of what I did every single day when I was in the classroom was classroom management. You don't have classroom management, you can't teach anything. Yeah, it's crazy. And they told us all the time too, "You're gonna have this curriculum and these textbooks, and the school is gonna determine what that is, and you have to teach from them." So that's why they kinda skipped that whole, like, teaching part, because they just figured you're just gonna read the manual. But that's not helping me at all. Like, be able to I learned about zone of proximal development, that was useful, very useful, because that came back into play when I did my tutoring. Because then I could determine what are the kids ready for and what are they not ready for. So I know a big part of imposter syndrome is really confidence level, and, like, the types like, that confidence level, will I be able to get results with kids, and will I be able to get those results for them online? I struggled with that big time because my position changed from being a reading specialist where I was helping the teachers learn how to teach better to get results with their students, but I wasn't the one actually teaching the students. So I was like, "Hey, well, everything that I've done in the last 6 years, can I apply that and will it work? And will it work online?" And so I had no idea. Like, it was just like, can I sell my services? Will people buy them? Can I teach it? Will I get results? Like, I had no idea. Like, there was a lot of confusion there for me, and I felt beaten down by the school system. What was your experience as you came on in?
You see, I have a background in teaching science, but I saw that a lot of the requests were for teaching math, and so I had to go learn math. Like I actually at the beginning I didn't feel very confident about my ability to teach math,
Mhm,
but because I had so many students at $35 per hour, that I tried really hard to make math easy for the students, and that is work that I put in at that time that is helping me today still.
mhm.
So I don't think the teaching part was that hard for me, even when
Yeah,
things went online. I thought that this could take off really easily. Like I
yeah.
found the online tools that I needed to use, and
Mhm,
in my opinion, the online works better for learning compared to in person.
mhm. Yeah, I found the same thing. I found the same thing. I worked with my students. I had some that came to the house, and I had some that I did online, and before that, I'd only worked in person, more kinda like a volunteer kind of basis, but I had to get all my materials prepared and ready to bring to the house and drive on over there and then hold the session, and then if I needed something that was at home, then I had to wait until the next week before we were able to touch on it, but, like, online, everything's right there at your fingertips, like, you can address it right in the zone of proximal development, right where they're at, they need it
Mhm.
now, and you can provide it right now. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember I would go to their house and then I would sit there and then they'd say, I'm doing this thing. And then in my mind, I was thinking, I know exactly what you need right now.
Mhm.
It's at home.
Yep. Nothing
Like
you can
I
do at
know
that
what
point.
workbook you need. I know exactly what page, what chapter
Yep.
you need this thing.
Yeah.
It's at home. Or, they'd need notes on something and I would write it out by hand on their piece of paper and then I'd give it to them and I go, this is what you need to know to do these questions. And then the next week they lose it.
And then online, the beautiful thing is you just pull it back up. Like, you don't have to rewrite it or
Yeah,
redo it or anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 5-second Google search, copy and paste.
Yeah. I like to sometimes create something, personalized for the kids in Canva, and then I upload that, like, into their stuff, and then it's just there for review the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and if I wanna use it with another kid, I can. It's already made, I just have to pull it on up. There it is. So, yeah, Google search, I use a lot of images online. Vocabulary is a lot easier to teach online because the kids don't know what a word means. Well, I can find a video that will help explain it so they can actually see it, or I can find an image that will help, like, jog their memory, or I can use that image to inspire conversation around that specific word. and I couldn't have those kinds of resources and tools. Like, I'd have to prepare that for the next lesson. Do you find that you have to do a lot less lesson planning now that you've been doing this for a while?
Um, yeah, I don't think I am somebody who did a lot of lesson planning to begin with. Well, true. Actually, when I do it here, like online now, I have students that come for like upgrades, not necessarily homework help, but upgrades. And then I can assess them and I can find exactly what they need to learn at this moment because on my computer, I have files and files of every single math skill that you'll ever want to look at. And then I should pull them up right away.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's just that ease of use. Your own little online filing cabinet. I bet you it takes a lot less time to find it on a computer than it would to actually go into a personalized, like, filing cabinet and do that. I love it. So when do you feel like did you feel like you had to actually do anything to beat imposter syndrome, or do you feel like imposter syndrome began to disappear over time with more experience and confidence in yourself?
I was thinking about this. It's completely a mindset issue. And Joanne, you're the one who helped me with this.
Aw.
Joanne had me repeating, I am confident,
Mm,
people like me, and I am a miracle worker for like I had to listen to my own voice, repeat these words every morning. And I did this
mm.
for more than a month. It worked.
Yes. It does because we're listening to old tapes, aren't we, inside of our mind. We're bringing the tapes of our childhood into our present. We bring the tapes of our school life and our teaching career. We bring all those old tapes with us into our tutoring business, but some of those tapes are not serving us, and we have to replace them with new ideas that are more true. And so I think, yeah, that's such a helpful thing. I had done that experience when I was retraining my own brain as well, which is why I had you do that. Like we came up with, I started like listening. We were just chatting. I'm like, okay, here's the new thought that she needs to replace that. Here's another new thought she needs to replace that. We totally personalized that for you. And then I said, okay, now you're just gonna read this, record it, and listen to it every day. And it really
It
does help.
wasn't instant.
No,
Sorry.
it's not instant. You're right. It's not. No, tell us about that.
I mean, I'll look back on it now and I see the difference.
Yeah.
Um, but if you had asked me during the first week, would I have noticed anything? Probably not.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. It takes time. It definitely takes time. And I think that's the beautiful thing. I have this beautiful app, and I don't know, it is a paid app, but it's called the I Am app. And every hour, I get an I am statement sent to me. And I repeat it, and I always remember saying to myself, like, "That's so true. That is really true." So, like, my I am statements are today, I keep my energy high and positive. Yes, I do. Like, I can agree with that. I am doing that. I'm worthy of a life that feels good to live. Yes. Yes, I am. I am worthy. I love it. So, like, I'm constantly, like, saying these things. I read them, and I'm like, "Yes, that's me." And that helps me today to stay in that mindset because it's so easy to get pulled down by other people. We can get pulled down by one student who maybe just they're not doing the work on their side. They're complaining about everything. They're not showing up to the sessions. Or we can get pulled down by a family that for whatever reason they're not happy with something that's happening and they're trying to pull you down with them, or another tutor who's like, who do you think you are? Or they post bad things on our social media or onto our videos or the content that we're creating to be of service. Or we have a family member who they think they're being well-meaning and well-intentioned with their advice, and they're saying, "Why would you wanna make tutoring a career? You could make so much more money." And and we have all of these, like, things that we get bombarded with them, and we have to shield them off with truth. With that's not true. I can make a lot of money being able to do what I love and live the life that I have. So what does your life look like today? Like if we take a look, get a little glimpse into Clara's life, what does that look like for you today?
Uh, my work life, I work Mondays to Thursdays, from 12 to 9. This works for me because I get my morning. I get my morning to be more relaxed. And then I take Fridays off because Friday is not a great day for tutoring. So if there's just like one or two students who want it, I'm like, no, I'll just take it off. And then I have Saturday from 10 to about 3:30. And then on Sunday, I also take that off.
Okay, great.
Um, what's also changed for me now is that I don't have to work holidays. So I don't have to work the Christmas holiday. I
Mhm.
don't have to work spring break.
Mhm. Yes. I love that too, that flexibility that is there, that is allowed for us. That is huge. Because I remember in the beginning, like, I felt guilty if I didn't work because I wasn't making money. But now I've, like, relooked at my schedule, and I schedule monthly, but there's, like, 3 or 4 months out of the year that have 5 weeks, or 5 Mondays, or 5 Tuesdays, or 5 Wednesdays, and so I'm able to look at when that happens and just take that week off. You're like, "Okay, here's where I'm gonna take that week off." And I just tell all my clients and they're like, "Okay." And I still make the same amount of money. That's beautiful. I used to just give them an extra session, which that was very nice and kind of me in the beginning. But then I realized, wait, Joanne needs some time off too to be able to energize and do all of that. I love that you have the boundaries with your time, with your business. That
Oh
is
yeah, that's very
really
important.
powerful. So important. So if you guys haven't done this yet, we've created a blog post. It's called 50 Tutors Speak Out What They Wish They Knew. And that is actually one of the tips that's inside of there. So there's a link inside of the description. Check it out. But that is absolutely 100% so important is set your business hours. What are your business hours going to be? What do you want them to be? And then stick to it. So if you get clients that are looking for services outside of those hours are already booked. You just tell them those hours, I'm so sorry, but those hours are already booked. Like, or you just say, I don't work on that day. Like, I take Fridays off. I actually take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off now. I used to work 7 days a week. You know what I used to do? I used to actually, so I would work until about 10 or 12 on Saturday morning. So I would work like from like 7 to 12 on Saturday morning. And then I wouldn't work again until Sunday until about 3 or 4. And I'd be like, well, there's 24 hours in there. That is not a day off. I'm just gonna say, I was lying to myself 100% that I was taking a day off. That is not taking a day off. Um, but that's how I kind of rationalized it inside of my
Mhm.
brain. Like, you literally need a day off, a day or 2. And now I have Friday is my catch-up day, so I call it my catch-up day. And I'm not talking about the kind of ketchup that you put on your burger. It's just a time for me to catch up. You didn't even laugh at my dumb joke. Come on, Clara. Oh,
I was
okay.
still thinking about the ketchup on your burger.
Yes, so I now am able to just use that so that I don't have to bring my work into the weekend if I don't want to. Any work that I bring into the weekend is always a choice, not a I have to. If I choose to work on it and get some stuff done, cool. If I choose not to, cool. I am a workaholic, so you will see me working a lot on the weekend, but again, it's not because I have to, it's because I want to. And there's a big difference there. Like if I want to just take 6 hours off and do nothing, I could. If I just want to like hang out with my family, I can. And I don't have to feel guilty about not doing anything. I used to feel guilty. Now I don't feel guilty anymore. I love it.
That's great.
I know it's such a beautiful place to live and know and oh my gosh, it's incredible. Now you started going to the next level of your business and did you start hiring tutors as well?
No, no, that's not a route that I'm going down. I know a
Okay,
lot of
okay.
people do that, but I don't.
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't have that. I don't have that personal desire either. But there are some people who take that on. And again, imposter syndrome then comes on in for them like, well, who am I to be able to have this business where other tutors are working for me? And it just like shows itself up. So just know that imposter syndrome can show up as you continue to scale your business and have that. I love that you're able to when you started creating content, did imposter syndrome start showing through at all?
A little bit. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, Clara
Hey.
Tong Tutor Math Online, and getting onto video was very hard for me. On one hand, that was true, but on the other hand, I felt like that was the correct choice for me to make. Um, and I actually kind of enjoy it. I enjoy
Yeah.
creating the video because it's a very creative process.
Mhm.
And then when I see the final result, it is
Yeah.
something that I'm proud of. So,
Oh, I love that. It is hard to watch ourselves back on camera in the beginning, and you have to get kind of used to that piece of it. But once you kind of work through that, it gets, I feel like, easier and easier and easier. And I just want to say, you guys, if you ever do begin to create content, because this is a great way to get found by clients from all over the world, is creating content and learning SEO. But if you do start creating content and you do have somebody who leaves a negative comment on your stuff, instead of focusing on that comment, I want you to say, "I am so grateful that people are finding me." Because you can't get the negative comments if people aren't finding you. You're gonna get positive comments too. Have you ran into that at all where people are leaving any negative comments on your stuff?
uh, not yet.
Oh, don't worry, it'll happen at some point in time.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
I feel like it's inevitable, like but that's okay because we also learned that not everybody has to like me, and not everybody is my ideal client who might be finding my
Hmm.
videos. Like, somebody may have
Hmm.
landed on a video and, it really wasn't even what they were looking for. The funniest one I ever got was the one guy who said, "You just wasted 60 minutes of my life," and I thought, "Which person has an intelligence problem here?"
If he didn't like it within the first minute, why did he watch the other 59 minutes?
Right? I'm not thinking, yeah, so that one I still laugh at that one because 'cause I'm just like, "Okay, well, that's not on me, honey, that's on you," right? Like, I was not sitting there with a gun by your chair and saying, "You must watch the next 59 minutes. You must watch the next 57 minutes. You must watch the next 56 minutes." Like, at some point in time, you have to make those decisions for yourself if something is a right fit for you to watch or not, and if you don't like somebody's character or personality, turn it off and listen to something else. Like, it's people do it all the time. I think people do it more so now than they used to maybe in the past, but, you know, at the end of the day, this is all about us being who we are and knowing that we have value to serve. So somebody who's struggling with imposter syndrome today, Clara, they're like, I just don't feel like I'm as experienced as the other people, or I don't know if I could get the kinds of results that Clara can get or Joanne can get with her students. What kind of advice would you offer them?
Well, confidence comes from two things, I would say. Like, there are people who are confident in their singing ability when they really shouldn't be. And
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, the ability piece does need to be there, but uh, everyone's talented in something. You take that something and then you lean into it.
I love that.
Because for me, I think it was the phrase "I am a miracle worker" that really spoke to me, like of the mindset shifts that I
hmm
had to make. It was because I knew that I had many students telling me that they couldn't have done whatever it was they did without my help. That's how I
Mm,
knew, I do help people do things that they thought required a miracle. So
mhm.
if that piece is true, then there are other I don't know how to say. There are other statements that are related to that are also going to be true as well.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah, don't focus so much on, oh, I don't have an Ivy League degree and I don't
Mhm.
have a PhD.
Yeah, definitely. That's the wrong area to focus on. And sometimes we may need to get better at our craft, right? We may be like, I want to learn how to teach math better to kids. And there might be this math course that's out there that can help you do that. Or you might be thinking, I wish I could teach reading better online. And you're like, oh, well, Joanne has a reading interventionist class. I could just take that, and that's going to show me exactly how to do that versus having to go back to school and learn all of the reading things all over again, right? Like from the beginning. Like there are things you can do. There are books that you can read. There's podcasts you can listen to. Um, the same world that's available to me is available to you and you and you and you, right? Like the information is out there. We're not definitely not in a information deficit world. Right? It's information overload at this point in time. However, we can now zone in. This is where I feel like niching down is going to help you become more confident in your skills quicker because if you have so many different focuses, it's hard to get that expertise quickly, but when you hone in on a certain area that can help you with that expertise, because you mentioned that you did science and then you realized there's a lot of people
Hmm.
looking more for the math side of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so then you continue to work with those kids in the math and reteach yourself the stuff that you needed to be retaught. Like you didn't go on
Yes.
into it and just be like, well, I don't really know how to teach them, but let's see how this session goes.
Yes, I did a lot of studying, and because I was learning it as a student, I was also having to think about how to make it so that other students can understand. I
Hmm.
think it's when you're at that stage, when you're not an expert, that's when it's easier to find a way to teach it. You can't teach it if you're a novice. You can't teach it if you think it's so easy that everything's obvious. When you're in the space where you're kind of learning, but you have the ability to do so, I think that's when it's easiest to learn how to teach it.
Yeah. And going about it in that mindset too. Like, I'm not just learning this to learn this. I'm learning this so I can explain it to somebody else. So how would I explain it? And then that actually reinforces your own learning of it because that's a stage of the learning process is teaching it to somebody else. Have you ever heard of Jim Quick?
No.
Oh my gosh, I love Jim Quick. He is a learning expert. So he focuses all on um he talks about speed reading. He talks about like how do you remember things that you never thought you could remember and the whole learning process. And he was known as the boy with the broken brain. When he was in first grade, he um the kids were all looking outside at something and they all had run to the window and he ran to the window too, but there were so many kids there he tried to climb up on the radiator, and as one of the other kids was coming back he fell and hit his head on the radiator, and he suffered concussion, brain loss, and he actually remembers when he came back to school one of the teachers saying to another teacher, "That's the boy with the broken brain." And because of that, it held him back for years and years and years. And come to high school, he wanted to learn everything that he could about learning and how can he become a better learner. And now he teaches this stuff. How can you learn anything um, quickly? And he's such an incredible, incredible, inspirational story. But anything that you want to be able to learn, one of his steps is you need to teach it to somebody else. When you teach it to somebody
Mhm.
else, you are learning it at that next level, right? That you have a complete understanding of it. You can try teaching it to somebody else even when you don't have a complete understanding of it because you're going to modify, you're going to use other words, you're going to notice where they get stuck, and you're going to notice all of a sudden now as you go through this enough times, you're going to notice, oh, kids always get stuck here. Yep, that's where they're getting stuck. And now you're able to pinpoint and hone in on all of those different areas that they're getting stuck. And now because of that, that imposter syndrome has completely gone away. It's gone.
Mhm.
So I do think that continually study the right things. Don't go back to school because you think you need another degree. That's not going to do you anything. Continually study the things that you can learn. Speak kindly to yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people. Know where your strengths are and how you can help and serve your students. Because when you know that and you can get clear on that, you'll be able to communicate that and more people will want to hire you. And that imposter syndrome is slowly going to dwindle away until you feel completely confident in the tutoring business that you have. So, thank you so much, Clara, for coming and joining and sharing your experiences with this and helping to inspire more tutors um, to know that if you're experiencing imposter syndrome today, keep at it. The imposter syndrome will go away the more that you are able to get those results with your students. And you guys, you've got this. You absolutely have this. Next week, we are going to be talking about charging your worth. So definitely come join us. Like, how do you figure out what you charge and what should you be charging? We're going to be talking all about that next week. So come and join us Monday and Thursday. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.